They told you ghosts were the spirits of the dead. They lied. The things that watched you from the tree line, that moved in the corner of your eye on the surface of a lake, that shifted under the floorboards at night. In Eastern Europe, those weren't ghosts. They were older, hungrier, and much less human. Tonight, you're not hearing a campfire story. You're stepping into a continent of forests and swamps where people still leave offerings at doorways and riverbanks, not out of faith, but out of fear. Stay with this video until the end, and you will understand why Slavic villages treated every forest, every river, even their own house, as if something inside it was listening. And if you enjoy wandering into the darker corners of ancient belief, subscribe to the channel now before you forget, because this is only the first step into Eastern Europe's shadow world. In Western stories, the world's divided. The land of the living and the land of the dead. In old Slavic belief, that line barely existed. Everywhere had a master, a presence, the deep forest, the slow, dark river, the creaking, smoky house, even crossroads and fields at night. People didn't talk about imaginary monsters. They talked about neighbors, invisible ones. You could argue with them, bargain with them, anger them, and sometimes marry or be killed by them. Tonight you will meet four of the most feared and respected of these spirits. Leshy, the lord of the forest. Rusalka, the drowned maiden who never forgives. Vodyanoy, the river that hates you. And Domovoi, the thing that lives in your house right now. By the end, you may realize the modern world just gave these beings new names and new places to hide. Imagine you're walking alone through a dense forest. The path is clear. The air is still. Then, without noticing when it started, everything is wrong. The trail you followed is gone. The sun is in the wrong place. No matter which way you turn, you end up back at the same crooked birch tree. In Slavic lands, that wasn't getting lost. That was Leshy. Leshy is not just a forest demon. He is the forest, given a mind and a cruel sense of humor. Stories describe him in many forms: a towering man with bark for skin and moss for hair, a hunter with one eye, one eyebrow, and one long arm, or a shadow that looks exactly like you, walking just a bit out of sync. His favorite game is leading travelers in circles until exhaustion, cold, or panic kills them. He doesn't always appear. Sometimes it's only a voice that sounds like someone you know, calling your name deeper into the trees. Sometimes it's the sound of laughter behind you, but nothing when you turn. Sometimes it is footprints beside your own, appearing and disappearing in the mud. Villagers had rules. Never whistle in the forest. It was seen as an invitation. Never brag that you know the woods well. Leshy hates arrogance. If you're lost, you turn your clothes inside out, swap your shoes to the wrong feet, and pray. You're trying to confuse the spirit that is already confusing you. And if this world of dark spirits fascinates you so far, this is exactly the kind of hidden lore explored on this channel. Hit subscribe now, so the next time a legend like this drops, it finds you before you get lost in the algorithm. Now leave the forest. Walk toward water. The river looks calm at dusk. The surface is glass. There's a woman sitting on the bank, brushing her long hair with slow, careful strokes. She's barefoot. Her dress is damp. She looks lonely. In Slavic folklore, this is how you die. Rusalka is not a sweet mermaid. She is the spirit of a woman who died violently, usually drowned against her will, betrayed by a lover and driven to suicide, or abandoned, shamed or murdered and thrown into the water. The river did not purify her. It weaponized her grief. A Rusalka often appears as a beautiful young woman with pale skin and hair so long it can cover her entire body. Sometimes her hair or eyes are greenish like algae or river glass. She sits alone, crying or singing softly. She will ask you to come closer. She will ask you to keep her company. She will beg you not to leave her. If you obey, she grabs you. Some legends say she tickles you until you cannot breathe, laughing while you choke. Others are less kind. She drags you under, wraps her hair around your throat, and fills your lungs with the same water that filled hers. Rusalka represents something deeper than a simple monster. She is the rage of rejected women, the memory of crimes never punished, the belief that death doesn't erase injustice. It amplifies it. In some regions, villagers held Rusalka Week, when these spirits were believed to be most active. People avoided water. They stayed indoors at night. They watched their children closely. If you're still watching this far, you're part of the rare group that likes the darker, unfiltered parts of old mythology. Those are exactly the stories told here, so subscribing is basically asking for more forbidden knowledge on purpose. If Rusalka is a personal tragedy, Vodyanoy is pure, cold indifference. Vodyanoy is the spirit of lakes, ponds, and mill ponds. He isn't human. He barely bothers to pretend. He is usually described as a bloated old man with frog-like eyes, greenish skin, webbed fingers, and a beard made of weeds. He is covered in slime, with mud dripping from his body. He lives under the water, in a palace of drowned things, broken carts, lost tools, and the bodies of men, women, and children who never came home. Well, people in Slavic villages depended on water. Fishermen worked the rivers at dawn. Millers controlled the flow for grain. Travelers had to cross bridges and fords. Every one of them feared Vodyanoy. If a miller angered him, the wheel might stop for no reason, or spin uncontrollably until it shattered. If a fisherman disrespected him, the nets came up empty, or full of bones. Some tales say Vodyanoy liked deals. Millers would toss bread, coins, or even animals into the water as payment. In the darkest versions, human sacrifices were whispered about, especially in desperate times. Was it superstition, or a way for a village to explain why a healthy young man suddenly vanished under flat, calm water with no warning? If this blend of folklore and human fear pulls you in, imagine what else is buried in cultures you've never heard from. Subscribing keeps you connected to each new descent into the past's nightmares. The last spirit might be the most disturbing because it doesn't live out there. It lives with you. Domovoi is the house spirit. Unlike Leshy, Rusalka, and Vodyanoy, he isn't always evil, but he is never harmless. Domovoi is the personality of the home itself. He is described as a small, bearded man, sometimes covered in fur. Often he is unseen but heard. Footsteps at night, a hand moving objects, doors opening and closing. Sometimes he takes the appearance of a former ancestor. If he likes you, he keeps the house safe. He warns you in dreams of danger. He might even help with chores in tiny, invisible ways. If he hates you, he breaks things. He tangles your hair while you sleep. He keeps children awake at night with whispers and movement in dark corners. Families in old Slavic villages treated Domovoi almost like a relative. They left small offerings, bread, milk, or leftovers, in the corner or near the stove. They avoided shouting or violence in the home, believing it angered him. When they moved to a new house, they begged Domovoi to come with them. Think about that. A culture where you don't just sign a lease or buy property. You negotiate with the invisible thing that already lives there. Even now, how many people talk about bad vibes in a house? Strange noises when no one is around, or pets staring at something in the corner. Old Slavic people had a word for that. They called it Domovoi, and did their best to keep him satisfied. Forest, river, lake, house. In Slavic belief, there was nowhere truly empty. Everything had a presence, a memory. a will. Leshy made sure you respected the forest. Rusalka remembered every betrayal. Vodyanoy reminded you that water gives life and takes it back. Domovoi whispered that even your home has a soul and a temperament. We like to think we've grown past these stories, but the fears behind them never left. Getting lost and never found. Drowning in calm water, feeling watched in your own house. Knowing the world is bigger and stranger than you can control. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is made for. Someone who doesn't just want jump scares, but wants to understand the ancient nightmares behind them. So before you go, subscribe to the channel to join the circle of people who walk through these old stories together. Hit the like button if you want more deep dives into the dark corners of Slavic mythology. There are dozens more spirits waiting. And tell in the comments, which one unsettled you the most? Leshy, Rusalka, Vodyanoy, or Domovoi? Your answer might decide the next full episode. Until then, when you walk through a forest, cross a river, or turn off the last light in your house tonight, maybe don't assume you're alone.